Good morning, everyone. All right. How's everyone today? It's a beautiful day. Yeah. All right. We're going to sing "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." I believe we'll have the chorus words up here for you, so please enjoy. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the cattle are standing like statues. All the cattle are standing like statues. They don't turn their heads as they see me ride by. And a little brown maverick is winking her eye. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the sounds of the earth are like music. All the sounds of the earth are like music. The breeze is so busy it don't miss a tree. And an old weeping willow is laughing at me. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way.
Another time.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Oh, what a beautiful day.
I know it. Birthday beautiful.
You sounded great. How am I, Julie? My lights are on. Can you hear me? It is a beautiful day, and this mic will work beautifully. It might take a minute. That was awesome. Just awesome. I'm going to turn it on and off again just to make sure. Off, on. Okay. Good morning. It is a beautiful morning, huh? Ooh, it's cute today. And you know what? I think when we sing that, we feel it, right? So welcome. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living World Valley in partnership with Unity Medford. We're a spiritually progressive, radically inclusive faith community. And we teach tools to help transform personal lives as well as help make a world that works for everybody. We welcome each of you, no matter where you may be, on your own personal spiritual journey, because we're all one. We're all unique expressions of the divine, but we are unique, yes? If there's anyone here for the very first time, we would like to give you a little love. Anybody here for the first time? Not today? All right. I'm going to invite you to turn off your cell phones or put them in airplane mode if you haven't already. A couple people you'll...
Well, I'm on. Thank you. Might be, okay, it's a little echoey, but we'll see. Okay.
Some people I'd like to introduce this morning. Laura Stewart is our practitioner who will be doing our invocation and reading. And Carol Wythe is sitting high watch. She's praying throughout the service for the highest and best good for each of us. She helped us do a beautiful meditation this morning. Thank you so much, Carol. And our musicians, Alexa Ehrlich and Lauren James, we are very blessed every time you two are here. Thank you so, so, so much. All right, I think it's time now to take our collective deep breath as we turn it over to the musicians to prepare us for our opening prayer. And as always, please hold your applause after this song as we go right into that sacred prayer. Thank you so much.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
I would like to invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable, turning within to that infinite, still, small, silent space. It is in between the finite inhale and exhale of my breath that there is stillness. In this perfect stillness, the infinite expresses. And in this infinite, that one allness and wholeness is God. With each breath I breathe, I am reminded that the life I live is God life. It is love living itself as me, and all is divinely right, perfect, harmoniously whole, and illuminated with that presence. And as I speak my word for myself, I speak this word for each and every person in this room and each and every person outside of it. I know that each of us have been drawn here today by that divine nudge calling us into spiritual community, guiding us into a greater conscious awareness of our divine magnificence and supporting us in our ever unfolding and always expanding awareness of who and what we are. It is from this consciousness that I know that all that needs to be said today is spoken. All that needs to be understood is heard. And all that needs to be experienced is felt at the deepest cellular and cellular level of all of us. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that each and every person who is actively supporting and contributing to this Sunday service is an indispensable divine facet who is uniquely making up a part of today's experience. I know that right here and right now, all is well, all is whole, all is beautifully complete. I am grateful to know that the truth that this is so, and that our service is blessed beyond measure. It is from this consciousness that I release my word unconditionally into the pure spirit, all that is, and the unwavering action of the law that always says yes. It is from this place that I release my word, knowing it is done, it is so, and so it is. Today's reading is from one of my favorite authors, Ernest Holmes. It's on page 56 from the book, The Essential Ernest Holmes. To assert our individuality is to rise above the law of averages into that more highly specialized use of the creative medium that we call law, which is freedom beyond bondage, joy in the place of grief, and wholeness instead of sickness. We cannot do this unless we are first willing to judge not according to appearances. In this judging, not according to appearances, we are impressing the law with a new idea of ourself, a less limited idea, and we are learning to think independently of any existing circumstances. This is what is meant by entering the absolute. To daily meditate on the perfect law, the perfect life, and to daily embody the great ideal is a royal road to freedom, to that peace which passeth understanding, and is happiness to the soul of all beings. Let us learn to see as God must, with a perfect vision. Let us seek the good and the true and believe in them with our whole heart, our whole being, even if every person we meet is filled with suffering and limitation appears at all sides. We cannot afford to falsely believe in imperfection for a single second. For to do so is to doubt God. It is to believe in a power apart from God, to believe in another creator, something other than that which we know to be true. Let us daily say to ourselves, perfect God within me, perfect life within me, which is God. Come forth into expression through me as that which I am. Lead me on to the path of perfection and cause me to see only the good, only you. And so it is.
Climb every
Oh my, I saw tears, I saw people singing. Whoo! The only problem with these two is that I have to talk after they sing. That was just stunning. Thank you so much. Wow. Ay, ay, ay. So our theme for this month and next that I've chosen is Ladder to the Light. I mentioned last week that it comes from a book, which I got to get up here because I want to read from it later, called Ladder from the Light, written by a Native American Choctaw elder by the name of Stephen Charleston. He's an interesting guy in that he had a very rich upbringing from his grandfather in Native American spirituality. He is an ordained Episcopal priest, and he practices Zen Buddhist meditation. And I loved this, talk about climb every mountain. It's appropriate when we're talking about a ladder to the light. There's so much apparent darkness, and I say apparent darkness in the world today because God is here in every situation, even when it appears dark, yes? All right. And so I love the idea of a ladder, a tool to help us rise up to see the truth, to see the light, to be empowered to climb every mountain and to have our dreams come true. Not only our personal dreams, but our dreams for a world that works for all of life. The metaphor that Charleston uses in the book is that of the kiva. It is a traditional structure in Native American cultures underground in the shape of a circle or a rectangle. And it's a sacred sanctuary. But instead of being a sanctuary that looks up, it's down, it's under the earth. And the idea is that we should look at what's happening right now, not turn away from it, in order to transform it, so that that darkness of the kiva becomes like the darkness of the womb, a place of growth and birth, of rebirth. So that's kind of a summary of where we're at. So each chapter in the book is a rung. Last week I talked about the rung of faith, and we talked about how do we plant seeds to grow our faith. Today's talk is the rung of blessing. And this is kind of interesting. I wasn't sure what he meant. How would this work, a rung of blessing? What he's talking about is the blessing of God's love for its creation, i.e., you and me. And do we ever really feel the depth of that love? If we did, I think we would be either crying or laughing because it is so unimaginable. Those of us who have been parents or grandparents or have loved young people have maybe an inkling of what it is that the Creator feels for each one of us, its children. I wanted to read, before I get too far, just a paragraph from the book where Charleston summarizes what this book is about. This book, this ladder, is for all of us who have been standing in the darkness. It will call us to be a new light for one another, to form community, to work together, to share in a common love that transforms reality and promotes justice. It will call us to see ourselves as the tribe of human beings, a community still in the kiva, waiting to be born. I love that. Tribe of human beings. We're all in the same tribe. So, let's see. The Rung of Blessing is about understanding and taking time to really look for the evidence of God's love, to feel it, to embody it, to be aware of it. And also, I would say, he doesn't talk about this so much, but the Rung of Blessing, God's blessings sometimes come directly from the divine creator, the infinite intelligence, the love intelligence, who orchestrates our life, who answers our prayers, and so on. But that blessing also comes through other people, yes? God's love moving through other people to bless us, and we do the same. We give of the love of God to other people. I wanted to read again. This book was actually inspired by Charleston's downloads, if you will, from the divine. His time in quiet contemplation in the morning where he'd get messages from Spirit and record them. And I mentioned last week that he became a Facebook poster, and as someone who was an introvert and doesn't have any cat pictures to share, he wasn't sure what to share, so he shared these downloaded. And he's still on Facebook. I looked him up, so if you're interested in seeing his ongoing messages, they are there. So I wanted to read you just one. The book is chock full of them. This is at the beginning of the chapter on the Rung of Blessing. I am not a guru, saint, or prophet, he says. I'm not even an especially, this is not a download, this is Charleston. I'll read you the download later. I am not even an especially wise or good person. I'm just another human being facing darkness, like you. I do not believe I have any special knowledge of that darkness, nor any quick fix to restore the world to balance. I do, however, have one card up my sleeve. I believe in spirit. I believe in a power greater than any of us can truly comprehend. My ancestors called the spirit Hashtali, the vastness beyond the sun. That is exactly what the spirit is, a vast consciousness present in our lives, helping each of us to do things that would otherwise be impossible. Climb every mountain. I understand, therefore, that the second rung on the ladder to light is not one I take myself. Alone, I might remain in darkness, but with the strength and support of the Spirit, I can continue to climb to the light. I rise through grace, not through my own power. I step on what my ancestors called the blessing way, a spiritual vision of life that is grounded in the healing ceremonies of the Dene or Navajo people. It speaks to our need to walk in harmony and balance with all of creation. In harmony and balance with all of creation. What hit me when I read that, I shared with you when I was in Bali several months ago, I got a tattoo. It's called the Trihita Karana, and for the Balinese people, it's a 3-leaf design that stands for harmonious union with God, with humankind, and with nature. And this is what he's talking about. My personal intention for this year was to be open to love, love in all of its forms, love of the divine, love of people, love of all. And so I think I was gifted this book a couple weeks ago in the flow of what Spirit wanted me to experience and perhaps to share, hoping it will be meaningful for you all. Wow, huh? So God's love, Spirit's love, whatever we call the divine, is unchanging, it is unending, it is unlimited and unimaginable. And so much more. That Spirit that knows us intimately and loves us, it's almost too much to take in. Almost too much to take in. There are a couple Bible quotes, so it's probably more than a couple, but I wanted to read you one. This was from David in the Psalm 139. He says, "O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in behind and before and lay your hand upon me." And then David says, "Such knowledge is too wonderful for me." If we could truly take that in, we would be so moved. And later on, of course, there's the thing about where can I go to go from Spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend into heaven, you're there. When I make my bed in hell, you're there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, your hand shall lead me and your right hand shall hold me. Sometimes we forget that, right? In the midst of pain, in the midst of darkness, in the midst of things not going the way we want, in the midst of apparent lack, we forget that God is still with us. In the New Testament, Jesus says, "The very hairs on your head are all numbered, so don't be afraid." The very hairs on your head. Before we get too serious with this, There's no such thing probably as too serious, but I wanted to add a little levity. I almost every week end up reading a poem by Chalon Harkin, my new favorite poet. From her book, Let Us Dance, she says this about this idea that God's love is so immense, so unfathomable, it might be a little bit overwhelming. She called this totally overbearing. You don't feel loved? You must not have yet realized that God is like the most cloying, over-the-top parent. The angels have become so bored about God gushing about you, going on and on about how you did the tiniest little thing to open your heart, about how blown away God was by your infinitesimal new brave act. How did his first almost, oh, I'm sorry, God is still talking. He did his first almost loving thing today. God announces proudly of his precious little people who have just taken their heart's first step. I've got to write in my journal about how she considered telling the truth today. I mean, she actually almost did it. Different view, right, than the angry, punishing God. Finally, she says, it's really no wonder you juke away from God's grace and spend lifetimes hiding from her love. God is this close to being totally overbearing. Isn't that precious? Chalon Harkin, I love you. So grace is mentioned. Of course, grace in traditional Christian circles is the gifts that God gives us free of charge. In other words, we don't earn the blessings that we experience when we consider the blessings in our life. We don't earn them. They are given. They are given. They are just given. This unconditional love and assistance is always in play. And again, we need not be afraid because this is the truth. So we are blessed and touched by spirit. Remember that? It was touched by an angel. That was that. I used to love that show. We are blessed and touched by spirit, and so we are both healed and strengthened and empowered to live that impossible dream, right? To do all things that we intend with our heart to do. Now, once we accept Spirit's blessing, once we are aware of it and really recognize it, we are walking again what the Dene or Navajo people call the blessing way. Isn't that beautiful, that term? Spirit's energy and wisdom then can be not only received but channeled through us to others. So we become a blessing as well. In the book, Charleston says, the key to understanding blessing is accepting the idea of intimacy with the sacred. Intimacy with the sacred. It reminded me when I was going over my outline this morning of an Amy Steinberg song. I would have asked you guys to sing it, but it was too late. And she has a song you may know, let me be intimate with the infinite. Let me be intimate with the infinite. Let me remember what's real. Maybe next time we'll sing that one. It's gorgeous. So this intimacy, we are one. We teach that we are individual creations of God, made of God's stuff. If God is all there is, there's nothing else for me and for you to be made from. So we are individual expressions of that one. In Native American, well, Charleston says his Native American ancestors sometimes wore masks in ceremonies to embody visibly different aspects of spirit, being intimate with the infinite. I have trouble saying that word this morning. Christians speak of becoming one with the Holy Spirit through the ceremony of the Holy Communion, which can be a beautiful, beautiful act of acknowledging our oneness. Many messages that this author received, in his downloads from Spirit were about our value, our worth, and God's faith in us, as Chalon Harkin wrote about, even the very littlest things that God celebrates. So this is a download from Charleston, the one I chose to read for you today. Come out with me. This is God speaking through the pen of Charleston. Come out with me. out beyond the usual bounds of your life, out to the wilder places where you may rarely venture, out to see the limits of what you can do. That song was really appropriate, wasn't it? Yeah. You are the creator of 1,000 ideas, the maker of imagination, the designer of dreams. In a word, you are a thinker, still are and always have been. We need your kind of thinking now, that open-ended, imaginative, hopeful kind of thinking. We need your insights and your concerns. Come out with me, out into the wide world that has grown so weary. Come out and be heard. Come change us with what you have discovered, with what you know, with what you think. There's an invitation for us, huh? I believe we begin to be the light that shines in the darkness when we begin to believe we are loved. And that is what this Rung of Blessing is all about. To shed all the old things we may have taken on as children that we're not worthy, that we have to earn our parents' love or our God's love. It's all nonsense. We are lovable and loving exactly as we are right now, despite any, what did one writer call it? I can't remember. Any appearance to the contrary, we'll just say that, but beside any warts we may not like about ourselves. So it's Spirit, it's God that lends us the strength to keep climbing that ladder to the light with confidence along the way. And so I think there are two things I want to encourage us this week to do in light of this series. One is to take time with the infinite. I certainly have said that before, right? Because how can we be intimate with the infinite if we're not spending time with God? So like Charleston did in the morning, to sit and just listen, to sit and imagine this love. Imagine how great it is. Imagine that we could let go of any old thoughts of not being worthy or of having to earn anyone's love or blessing or respect. All right. Second part of what I wanted to talk about was how God's blessing comes to us through other people. I have been so in the flow, I love it when that happens, sometimes I'm not, this week, that I had a conversation with my son that I want to tell you about on Mother's Day. We had a 2-hour conversation. And I don't know why he shared this particular story, because he's 37 he'll be 37, he's 36, he'll be 37 in August. And this is something that happened in law school when he was in his 20s, so who knows? I think it was Spirit's way of saying, here's some fodder for your talk. Honestly. So Tony was in Tucson, Arizona at U of A Law School, 3rd year. Really, if you've known anybody or have gone through law school, it's an intense experience. And his wife at the time moved out and moved back to Phoenix to live with her dad. They were having issues, and he was having a very, very difficult time. And he said, "Mom, I thought about it and I thought, why am I so depressed? I have so much to be glad about. I have great health. I'm doing really well in school. I have a nice house I'm living in and my pets, but I'm depressed and I can't get over it." And he said, "I decided I needed to do something to lift myself up." And what he did, unbeknownst to him, is he stepped on that rung of blessing. He devised something that he called, this is so Tony if you know my son, he devised, what did he call it? Project Mentorship Recognition. Honest to God. So what he proceeded to do was to write down the names of people, some of whom were formal mentors, some of whom weren't really formally a mentor. In fact, he said some of them I didn't even like the person or they didn't like me, but they said something or did something that had a positive impact on his life that he did not forget. So he comes up with a list of over 50 mentors. And he proceeds to write a letter of thank you to each one of them, and then hand delivers it to everyone he possibly can, which meant going back to Phoenix every weekend and searching out teachers and friends and so on. If someone had died, he sought out the next of kin to deliver the letter. If someone had moved away, he mailed it. And I'll just share 3 of them. It was so moving. And as you can imagine, this became a blessing to the person, I'm assuming, receiving the letter, but also a blessing back to Tony. He said he did this for most of his 3rd year of law school in his spare time, and it lifted him up. So one of them was talking about delivering it to somebody who had died. One teacher, 7th grade, I think it was, had died and had 2 children. I imagine they were pretty well grown children. So Tony delivered the letter to them. And he said they cried as they read the letter, and I cried with them. And so that was, the blessing both ways. I'm trying to think, there were 3 I wanted to mention. I want to save the best for last here. Let's see, hang on, let's check my notes. Oh yeah, his 8th grade teacher. And there were teachers through, through law school and so on, and there were women and men, but an 8th grade teacher, he said he went in to see him one day, and the teacher was sitting at his desk weeping. And Tony said, what's the matter? And the teacher said, it just pains me to know students like you that have so much talent and potential, and to watch what you choose to do with it. Tony never forgot. He dropped out of school when he was 16. I've told you this story, and I won't bore you with the whole thing right now, but he dropped out of school and put himself through college later on, and then law school, was a law review and did great, but he dropped out of school, and he wasn't happy in school. He was bored, and he was a handful for his teachers. He wasn't nasty and mean, but he was a wisecracker. So this other story, this was 8th grade? Yeah, this was 7th grade, sorry. The other one was 8th grade. There was a teacher, we'll call him Mr. S. Tony ended up in detention constantly for this teacher because he was a wisecracker, and he was a talker, and he was bored. And so the way this public school, he had been booted out of Catholic school at that point. You can imagine, right? If I have any gray hair. So the teachers were paired up. So if what am I calling him? Mr. S. Yeah, Mr. S assigned detention to somebody, he was paired with Miss R, and the students would serve their detention during lunch hour in her classroom the next day. And so if a particular student had detention 3 times in the week, the 2 teacher pairs that took care of him had to get together and discuss their well-being and how they might mold this child better than they did, okay? So, and this teacher also, this teacher was the reason Tony delivered the letter was Tony was being bullied when he was in 8th grade. A larger kid who had been held back, I think a couple times, would meet him in the bathroom, and he was trying to put his head in the toilet. And the teacher walked in and caught him and ripped the kid away from him and threatened him. In fact, he got in trouble for his handling, but at least that child never bothered Tony again. So he goes back to deliver this letter. Now, mind you, Tony was in detention. Oh, one day he didn't have detention, and he asked Mr. S to give it to him. And Mr. S said, "What?" Tony said, "Well, Miss R is reading us a book every day, and I don't want to miss a chapter." But you needed a red card to get into detention. So get this, he goes back to give this letter to Mr. S. Now, remember, Mr. S and Miss R had to get together a lot because Tony they were married. And I just thought, oh, my child, mijo, I call him, all the blessings that flowed that year because of what he did. All the blessings he became aware of again, of people who had blessed him, and then to reconnect. So I made my list in one of my meditations. I have over 50 people. I don't know that I'm going to write a letter to each and every one of them, but it's not a bad idea, right? Because just to become aware of that allows me to feel how loved and supported and blessed I am. So that's the other thing I wanted to encourage you to consider doing this week is do your own project mentorship recognition. Oh my goodness, I'm just checking the time here. A Course in Miracles, of course, always dovetails for me what I'm growing in myself. One of the lessons this week was this, and it just made me weep. It really did. This is lesson 135 from A Course in Miracles. What could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? 135. Daily lesson 135. Perhaps you have understood his plan, for he would never offer pain to you, but your defenses did not let you see his lovely blessing shine in every step you ever took. Wow, right? And another part of my study this week, because I'm studying the teacher's manual this year, third year in Course in Miracles, is that we should stop planning. A healed mind doesn't plan, because our planning and plotting and puzzling over things is from the ego brain. If we get in the habit of getting quiet, as Charleston did every day, and listening and hearing guidance or receiving guidance or whatever way we receive it, each of us is different, and follow that guidance, there is no real need to plan and plot and puzzle and worry anymore. There is one who walks beside us, who walks within us every single moment of every single life. And as luck would have it, well, maybe I'll tell you a joke first. A little bit comic relief here and there, right? You know the story about the two twins whose birthday it was, and they went outside that morning to play, and the backyard was full of dung. It was full of manure. And the one twin was so upset. Oh my gosh, this stinks, this smells, life isn't fair, this is my birthday. The other twin was throwing the stuff up in the air, excited and celebrating, and the first boy said, "What the heck are you so happy about?" And his brother said, "If there's this much manure, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere." Right? So as luck would have it, we know it's not luck, we know it's divine order. This week, in our practitioner class, in the student manual, there was an article by Reverend Dr. Peggy Bassett, who some of you may know of. She was the first Science of Mind minister I ever heard speak. She was the senior minister at the Huntington Beach Church of Religious Science, it was called in those days. And she was brilliant and vulnerable and heartfelt. I cried through every service I ever went to at that church. I was living in Arizona, and I would go over to visit my sister who was in that church at the time as becoming a practitioner and a minister and so on, and I would cry through every service. Peggy Bassett died of Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, which I think you all know it's not a pleasant trip. She was criticized by some people because she was a minister of Science of Mind, and what was it in her consciousness that she had created this illness? You know, that's poor use of spiritual principle. We're all going to leave the planet, and we're going to leave the planet because of something, right? She told people who offered to pray for her healing, "Stop praying for my healing. Pray for my clarity instead." And while she suffered for a while, thinking, gosh, you know, what am I going to do? First of all, she thought this was a temporary thing that was going to go away. Then she realized she got the diagnosis it wasn't. And she realized that her prayer that whole period in her life had been to have a closer walk with God. And she realized that this experience actually was the answer to that prayer. So she wanted clarity about how to have a closer walk with God. She said she went to a Brew Joy workshop. Some of you may know who he was, an incredible, I don't know, author, therapist. And Brew had encouraged her to think about what was going on with her body as metaphor. She said, "The first thing I lost was my balance. And you know what? My life was out of balance. I was a workaholic, and so, of course, I lost my balance. The second thing I lost was the use of my hands." She's sitting in a wheelchair, by the way, at Huntington Beach, delivering this sermon as her last sermon about to retire. And she said, "My hands," and you know, I realized I was clinging to things that didn't matter, that's why I lost. And then I lost the use of my legs and my feet. Well, I was running around in circles, not just being still and listening, which is how you have a closer walk to God. And she talked about her sitting in the chair and seeing her not as somebody disabled, but somebody enabled by Spirit. This, my friends, was a beautiful, beautiful soul. And I take that. I was running around a couple weeks ago myself feeling angry about a certain condition in my life. And all of this helped me realize, wait a minute, there's a pony in here somewhere, right? And in fact, there is, and I'm seeing it now. So to wrap up here, there's a seed of hope within each of us if we can do these practices, and that is the next rung we're going to be talking about. We don't talk about hope a lot in Science of Mind because we talk about faith. We don't hope something's happened. We know something's happened. But let's face it, when we're facing darkness like these times, we not only need faith, we need hope to know there's a mountain that we can indeed climb. There's a ladder we can indeed climb to the light with Spirit and not without Spirit, not without that help. So I want to read you a summary on page 56, and then we'll go into prayer. Let's see, Pony, Peggy, and Poem. Yeah, I have 3 things I wanted to add this morning. There were 3 P's, Pony, Peggy, and Poem. Yeah. 50, I do that a lot. Little memory kids. What page is this on? 56, thank you. Takes a village to give a talk. This is a short paragraph. You have been touched by the Spirit's hand. You have been called out by name. You have been blessed with many skills and with great strength. The darkness will begin to go away when you believe in the light, when you begin to believe in yourself, when you climb the blessing way to discover just how strong your faith can be. And you'll understand in a moment why I looked at these 2 when I said, he knows your name. All right, let's go into prayer. If we could but get a glimpse of the unending, infinite, unfathomable, awesome, overwhelming, maybe overbearing love that our Creator, our Father, Mother God has for each one of us, we would be shifted forever. This infinite presence that is everywhere, that is all-knowing, that has counted the hairs on our heads, that knows our thoughts before we even say them, lives all around in every circumstance. There's no spot where God is not, and it lives and breathes each of us. We cannot be separate from the goodness, the light, the love, the abundance, the clarity, the wholeness, all of it. We're here to be it, to express it, to give it. We are here not only to recognize the blessing of God's love as it comes from the divine itself, as it comes through every other person in our lives, but we are here to share that blessing, to express that love. The power of this is infinite. So my prayer for each and every one of us is that we continue to climb this ladder to the light, that we don't see darkness as inevitable, that we don't see it as insurmountable. We see it like everything that comes into our consciousness, into our experience, as something that is meant for our good, so that we might step more powerfully into our wholeness, our goodness, and do what we're called to do, each of us, because each of us is called in a unique way. So what I know for each of us this week, as we take time in stillness to be intimate with that infinite one, I know that we take time to recognize God's love, and we take time to recognize the blessings that come at us constantly from other people, and we decide where we want to spread that love. I am knowing and I'm affirming that at the end of these 8 weeks that we will all have climbed this ladder so that we no longer look out and see darkness, but we see potential, we see love, we see what we're called to do, and we together climb that ladder to the light, which is our birthright. I'm so grateful for this author. I'm so grateful for this community and this philosophy. I'm so grateful for the lights that each one of us is. And so I just release this word knowing it's heard as all prayers are. It is answered already in the mind of the divine. And I invite us to say together, so it is. Amen.
I will come to you in the silence. I will lift you from all your fear. You will hear my voice. I claim you as my choice. Be still and know I am here. I am hope for all who are hopeless. I am eyes for all who long to see. In the shadows of the night, I will be your light. Come and rest in me. Do not be afraid, I am with you. I have called you each by name. Come and follow me, I will bring you home. I love you and you are mine. I am strength for all the despairing, healing for the ones who dwell in shame. All the blind will see, the lame will all run free. All will know my name. Do not be afraid, I am with you. I have called you each by name. Come and follow me, I will bring you home. I love you and you are
Ay, ay, ay. Thank you, Alexa and Lauren. They learned that was a few months ago for me. That was my favorite hymn when I was a Catholic. It was in our Catholic hymnal. So beautiful. Thank you so much. Time now for our tithes and offerings. And so the first thing I want to say is, as our ushers come forward, is thank you. Thank you for your continued support for CSL RV/Unity, and thank you to those watching online as well. Let's say our affirmation together. If it's up on the screen, let me know. Otherwise, I got to find it, because you know how I always forget. All right, thank you. Let's say it together, shall we? Graciously I give from a place of love, knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive. So it is.
Celebrate my abundance today. By giving His gift, I show my faith. As I open my heart, my world becomes a better place. I release all fear as I share gratefully. This love that I give always gives back to me. Knowing my oneness with everything else, I know that all that I give to myself.
Thank you. Thank all of you. We have a few announcemements today. First of all, Jackie's jewelry is on sale. Jason, I guess we should call it Jason's jewelry now. Jackie Perkins, a congregant from a long time ago, started that up. So gently used and new stuff. Jason has some beautiful stuff. Check it out in Bosworth Hall. The Rogue Valley Peace Choir has a free concert this afternoon at 3 at the First Methodist Church right there in Ashland, and our Joy Winscott is in the choir. Yeah. I am planning to go. And Tom Frederick will be doing the sound. It's free. There's a love offering that's optional. Let's see. Tai Chi is meeting Tuesday at 11:30. Tuesday evening, our own Kelly Marcatulli. Kelly, you still here? No, yeah. Kelly is the speaker at the Rogue Valley Metaphysical Library Tuesday night lecture series, and her title is Healthy Living with Safe Tech. So how do we use our devices? We've all heard that, if we put the phone up to our ear all the time, not a good thing. Kelly's going to tell us how we can use our devices and use technology and stay healthy in the process. That's at 7 p.m. Tuesday evening. We will be showing a movie called God and Country, which is about Christian nationalism. I don't know if you all know about Christian nationalism, but it's kind of a movement that, it's kind of the attitude that we should all be Christian in this country, that men should listen to God and women should listen to their man, and pretty much white, it's a misuse of, I think, of the principles of Christianity, to say the least, okay? And that movie, God and Country, will be showing here Friday evening at 6:30, May 31st. I was asked by Bob Morse of the Peace Commission, who is a Quaker, if they could use our facility, and I go, yes, and we'll be there. So it's an interfaith gathering that night. There'll be a discussion afterwards, so consider coming. Eddie Watkins Jr., how many of you know Eddie's music? Eddie Watkins Jr. is one of the best known, well-beloved New Thought musicians on the planet right now. He grew up in Detroit, and gosh, I'm trying to remember who it was, the Temptations and maybe Duke Ellington. He played bass guitar at 17 years old on recordings for these two, and he has played with the best of the best. Moved to LA from Detroit with Motown, and ended up, after he recovered from a drug addiction, he is open about this, had a spiritual awakening, and boy, music just flows through him. He will be here in person. He's doing a West Coast tour the first Sunday in June 2nd. He will be doing the music and the talk. He does a talk woven in with his music. kind of like Melissa Felipe and Ziegloff did. So really looking forward to that. And he's doing a concert afterwards, which will be a 50-50 split, so it will be amazing, and it'll be a little fundraiser for us as well. So June 2nd, mark your calendars. And Stephanie needs some help. Come on up, Steph. Rev Steph is organizing this. There you go.
Good morning. So I'd like to get some volunteer help. I'll be standing at the front here after the service. Please come up and let me have your name. Let me have your name and email address to give help on Sunday the 2nd. So we'll need ushers and greeters, maybe some extra food. And also tell your friends now, because everybody's welcome, and it's a love offering only, so minimum love offering about $20. No one's turned away. So bring your friends as well to enjoy the Sunday service and the concert as well afterwards. So I hope to see you up here afterwards, and we'll build community as well as fundraising. Thank you.
Yeah, you won't want to miss that. He's amazing. Ellen, our travel club head, I think you wanted to make an announcement, did you? Yeah. You need to come up here so they can all hear you, and they can hear you online, Miss Ellen. Okay. All right. Well, while they figure that out, Ellen is, whoops. Well, I'll relay what you're saying so that everybody can hear and they can hear online. Tuesday, Travel Club goes to Trees of Mystery.
Yeah, we're going to meet at 9:30. It'll be pretty much all day.
Meeting at 9:30 here, an all-day trip.
Yeah, and we have to change our meeting times because we're trying to change too loud before the pack train comes in. So our meeting's now on Wednesday.
Meetings changed till Wednesday. At what time, Ellen? 5:30. And actually, they weren't too loud. It's just that we were doing a very solemn meditation last time. So see Ellen if you have any more questions. And one more announcement. Habitat for Humanity. A lot of you have been writing C for confirmed on your sign-up sheet. Hopefully by next week I will have what the date is in July when we'll be going as volunteers to help with that all-faith build in Ashland. If you still want to sign up, you can, but again, please, if you did sign up to help and you haven't put a C next to your name, meaning you still want to do it, let me know. And if you can't do that date, that's okay, but the C means I want to. Let's see. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, there's a sign-up sheet in Bosworth Hall. Prayer boxes in the back of the sanctuary. There's another one in there that goes to Silent Unity. Think that's it. No, there weren't. There weren't. There were not. So I'm going to invite our practitioners and ministers to come forward. Remember that they're available for prayer after service. Come on up. Don't leave here with a heavy heart. I've been asked to encourage people to move into the social hall so that it's quiet enough in here to pray. So if you could say the benediction after me, and you know what? I realized that this phrase, you know, my life just the way it appears and just the way it appears not, comes from Peggy Bassett, that minister that I told you about. So after me, please. I give thanks for this thing called life. Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in my affairs. I accept it. I bless it. And I share it. Just the way it appears, and just the way it appears not. Thank you, life. Take it away.
Follow along with the screen.
Go in beauty, peace be with